Hello everybody and welcome back to Hearts of Iron, where last episode we discovered that Britain was being a jerk. Well, maybe we shouldn't call them Britain anymore. The entity known as United Kingdom, although they're not very united anymore, was being a jerk. And we're not scared of the United Kingdom, to be clear. But they guaranteed Iran, and then they guaranteed the Azerbaijan Democratic Republic. So what that means is if we were to go to war with either of these nations, we would go to war with the Allies, which I think that we could win, but I don't want to go to war with the Allies. I want to buy their land. I don't want to fight for it. That's ridiculous. Why would we want to fight for it? We're the East India Company. We don't fight for things if we can help it. So we're just going to buy up territory here, and we're going to have to put conquest on hold for the moment until our world tension generation goes down and our opinion with the UK goes up. We'll try again in a while, but for now, we're back to buying. Or potentially developing our provinces. That's another interesting option, for sure. There's a lot of things in this list. How are we doing on our coring? We have only 37 days? Okay. That's noted. So it's going to take us somewhere around like 50-some days to generate the amount that we need to start another core going. So in that case, we should probably just chill for about a month, right? And do like nothing. Let's check through and see if there's any constructions that we can do. I don't think there are. I suspect we've already handled all of these. Yeah, that all seems correct. That all seems correct. We could go through and queue up some land forts, just kind of at random. Ah! That's a civilian factory or two that we could get. I don't know if those are previously queued, or rather if I missed them, or if we just didn't go through since they came available. But yeah, that's definitely a thing that we can do. So for now, let's just go through and do a few land forts here and there. I want to build the maximum amount of buildings. Yes, this is correct. Shift is the modifier that I want to hold for this. So we're just building these kind of at random for right now. It doesn't really matter all that much where they go in. This is just stuff for our factories to do. And it's definitely a little bit laggy. We don't want to queue up too much because that will significantly increase the lag, we know. So we're just going to be a little bit cautious with it and just go around queuing things up semi-random. Okay. There, hi, console. There we go. So that looks good. So at this point, 14 days. We have enough now, so we just need to keep our political power at or above 120. Hey, look, there's a war in Chile. And we are improving relations with the UK. So that is costing us some political power. So that's noted. Our relations with the UK will come up a decent amount. Okay, they've come up a lot, actually. I think we're about done with maximizing our improved relations. Does this max at 100? I would guess this maxes at 100 in Hoi. We'll find out. But for now, we can see that Kanto is only 6 days away from finishing its coring. So that looks perfect. 5 days now. And we'll just let that go. 4. And we're just banking up political power for right now. We'll spend it all as soon as this is done. 3 days. 2 days. 1 day remaining. Let's scroll up to the top here. The next is going to be Gansu, apparently. Okay, that's fine. And let's get that coring. Hey, look, the war in Chile is over. So that's, of course, not surprising in the slightest. So we'll continue to spread into Eastern Europe here, I think. Let's see what we can get from Romania. We got it. Fantastic. Can we get Odessa? We can. Excellent. I want more Soviet Union territory, of course. Perfect. The board of directors have been criticized for weak foreign policy again. So is this because we had the chance to strike against our enemies, but the EIC let it pass by? Is this because a justification is expiring? That's interesting. That's very interesting. So our war support base is going to be a bit rough for a little while. That's understood. And of course, that puts us negative in our political power. But I want to check over here. Did this expire? Yeah, that's what it is. Okay, so we're paying for this quite a lot, in fact. In fact, it looks like it expired here. Yeah, so that's the issue there. Absolutely fine. The UK cost us in total, I think, like 110 political power through those 2 guarantees. We're not happy about that. That's for sure. That's very, very for sure. We're very upset about it, in fact. So, yeah, looks like that net stability loss is, or rather, our base value was what was modified there. Is our base value changing? It's 33.2. We'll keep an eye on that. That might be on like a weekly tick, or it might be potentially on a monthly tick, or it might just not change at all. If we check in here, do we have anything in here? No, we don't. Apparently there's communist pressure. That's rude. Very, very rude. We'll keep an eye on that, but for the moment, I'm not terribly concerned about it. So 33.2, okay. We were at minus 10% though, and it went to minus 9.9. So, I mean, combat casualties are probably ticking. Yeah, they're definitely ticking. But that base value is potentially a bit rough. So, we'll see what we can do about that eventually. I think we can work it up through events that spend political power again. So we can do things like... Hang on, this is very laggy. Okay, instituting press censorship would be good for our unaligned support. That would be a good thing to do eventually. But for right now, we want to boost our war support, right? This would be about stability. Do we not have any propaganda that we can do? Maybe we can only do that while we're at war. Now, that does appear to be the case. Interesting. Well, at this point, we are going to see if we can get some of Hungary from Romania here. No, they don't want to give us that. Okay. Well, how about some of Ruthenia? Fantastic. Slovakia? Yeah, we got it. Okay. So we're just continuing to push our way into Eastern Europe here as much as we can. There we go. And now we're going to, of course, queue up infrastructure in our new territories. Those that don't already have it. A lot of territories at this point in 1970 are going to have territory, or rather, are going to have infrastructure built up, right? That's not particularly surprising. But we can get some anti-air queued up over here. Fantastic. I think we even have some coastal forts to build, which is remarkable. We'll get those queued right on up. Excellent. And then, of course, we need to replenish our civilian factories. So that's absolutely fine, but I am certainly sad that we are chilling from invasions for right now. No doubt about that. But if the UK is going to block us, I don't want to go to war with the Allies if we can help it, because we can just buy land from them. And then we can go to war with them later, when they're far, far weaker. Which is exactly the goal. That's how the East India Company rolls here. And yeah, we're just going to take the long game then. If Britain wants to play this game, we can play this game. I don't think Britain actually wants to play this game, but okay. So we can just grab these territories up here. Excellent. And there's all of our civilian factories queued up. And now we've got ourselves some political power again. So it looks like we are no longer increasing the opinion of the UK. So that's noted. Minus 17 from generated world tension, but minus 3 points per month for improved relations. That's pretty swift, actually. Interesting. But for now, it's okay. So how angry is the Soviet Union at us? Rather, is the answer. But they're still selling us their land, so that's exciting. Let's see what else we've got here. Oh, that was a good one. Excellent. The communist states of Italy, which is basically what they are at this point, is definitely still giving us a lot of land, and I love it. Let's see if we can get Dalmatia. No, they won't give us that one. What about Herzegovina? We got it. Fantastic. Chernigov? Yeah, excellent. Next up, Sofia, if we can get it. Nope, they don't want to give us that. But how about Serbia? Wonderful. We're just continuing to spread into Europe at this point. It's going to take longer to move through Europe than it did to move through Asia because these are going to be substantially smaller states, and that's not particularly surprising, right? So let's buy more of Poland if we can. And more Soviet territory, too. Fantastic. We're now out of political power, so it's time to do another construction cycle. And we're just continuing to spread throughout these territories. What do we suppose the odds are that we have any coastal territories? I think that's nil. I don't think that there are any coastal territories here. Which is, of course, a bit unfortunate, but not the end of the world. We can check, but I'm like 45% certain. Okay, it's a lot more than 45%. Yeah, that's what I expected to see. So next up, of course, civilian factories. Rather a lot of them need to be queued up. And that looks great. In fact, there are a lot of them down here that need to be queued up. A whole lot. This must have been fairly expensive. We did have a number of provinces change hands there. So that's definitely quite a few civilian factories that costed us. Let's see. This isn't our territory, is it? No, but this is. Excellent. Where else can we build civilian factories? Probably going to need a few up in North America. Let's take a look. Hey, look, there's a war in Chile. Everyone is shocked by the war in Chile at this point. Okay, so that looks good on the civilian factories. What is going on with this? This keeps happening. I don't know. I think American Bolivia is kind of screwing them over. So that's exciting, I'm sure. But for now, let's continue to purchase. So next up, can we get any more of... Ooh, that's a lot of icons. Can we get any more Livonia? Yes, we can. Fantastic. Oh, we're finally actually starting to buy from the Socialist Republic of Germany now. So that's interesting. And they're giving it to us. Hilarious. Hey, look, the war in Chile is over. So they're unwilling to give us Königsberg, which is not surprising in the slightest. Let's get another chunk of the Soviet Union and maybe some Poland. We've almost encircled the Soviet Union over here, by the way. All we need is this. Can we get that? Where is it in the list? It's going to be in the list here somewhere. I'd love to get it. Here. Excellent. Okay, so they gave it to us. We have now officially encircled the Soviet Union. They have borders with only us and with the Black Sea down over here. So that's, you know, not great for them, for sure. We'd love to take their coastal provinces and just have them fully encircled. I doubt that they'll let us do that, right? So in order to do that, we would need to get Crimea from them. We'd need to get, this is a coastal province here, Mykolaiv. We'll take that. They gave us that one at least. What else do we have here? Well, there's Crimea. No, they don't want to give us that one. They'll give it eventually, but not yet. What was that one? Yeah, Stelino? We got it. Cool. What else do we have over here? I'm specifically looking to cut them off from the sea. So I'm looking for provinces that are underneath that storm. It's a little hard to see under it right now. But looks like we could go for Kherson. We got that one. Excellent. And Zaporizhia. Let's do it. Okay, so the only thing we need now over here is Crimea, and then they're completely encircled by us. I love it. So that's absolutely excellent. We are out of political power, so let's see about getting some of the infrastructure built out over here. It certainly is difficult to see underneath that storm, but I'm sure it's fine. Okay, so that looks good. I don't think we got any additional territory out over this way. That shouldn't be the case. So we'll just need some anti-air out over here. Excellent. And the Soviet Union is basically a rump state at this point. That's hilarious. They're not quite that, but they're really... Actually, they're pretty close to a rump state. I would say that that's pretty much a rump state. It's insane. We, of course, do need to get some civilian factories replenished. So let's do exactly that. There's a lot of territory over here to build factories in. And we should have gotten some coastal provinces, too, which is, of course, convenient for us-ish. And we'll just get all of that built up. Excellent. Autosave. Eventually, this click will go through. There we go. Okay. Now we'll get all of these queued up out over here, because we have to replenish our factories, of course. I clicked on that 3 times and it didn't go. Okay. So, anything in North America? Yep. Absolutely. Cool. North Dakota really didn't want to build factories, but that's okay. So, next up, of course, is the coastal forts, which we have a little bit up over here. And then right down through here. Excellent. Is that all of them? Yeah, that looks like all of them. Okay, so we now have almost the entire coastline of the Black Sea, by the way. We're just lacking a little bit right over here, and Crimea. That's kind of huge. Yeah, that's rather huge, actually. So we're doing very well on all of that. Let's check in on how we're doing on our coring. It's been a little while. So let's see how this is going. What do we got here? 81 days? Okay, we've got time. So in that case, we will continue to buy from the Soviet Union. We can't buy Crimea. That's going to be on cooldown. So let's just continue to go down the list and see what they'll give us. They'll give us some of this for sure, but not all of it, I bet. Ooh, that was a good one. Let's see if we can get Kosovo. Yugoslavia is still unwilling to part with their land. I don't know where their capital is, which is kind of awkward. Can we, like, right-click on the flag to go to their capital? No, not in this game. Okay. Well, that's very awkward indeed. Maybe they have a little island somewhere? I don't know. But it's very awkward, nevertheless. So, for now, let's see if we can buy Kharkov. We got it. Excellent. And Gomel. They're unwilling to part with their land. By the way, this up here is Moscow. We're never going to get that without an invasion. So all of this is separated from their capital. Let's see if they're willing to give us Pennsylvania at this point. They've said no a lot of times to this one. No. Okay. Fair enough. We'll try again later. So next up is Debar and then Burgas. A lot of no's coming through here. Minsk. We got it. Excellent. Livonia giving us some territory, and now we are out of political power. Okay, so we didn't get all that many provinces there, unfortunately. I would have definitely liked that they would have said more yeses, but alas, that was a lot of no's. So we're going to get these all queued up over here, of course, and then let's go for... there is some coastal fort up over here. Excellent. So that looks good, and then civilian factories straight down through here. Going back to something I said a couple of episodes ago, I just find it deeply entertaining that the way that this is implemented in Hoi 4 manages to essentially turn World Conquest into a boring administrative office job. I think that's just perfect. It's incredible design. Although I do still wish that there was a way to diplomatically annex these little independent guys. But yeah, a boring administrative office job, but your job is actually world conquest, is just perfect for what we've got going on here. So that's awesome, but we are next going to, of course, go for a bit of Poland. Let's see if we can get this. This is kind of sticking out here, and yeah, we got it. That's a much more sane board. The Provisional Government of the Communist States of America? No, get out of here. That's never going to happen. Next up is Cherkasy, and we'll see if we get that. We got it. Eastern Slovakia. We're continuing to push through Eastern Europe here, and we're going to be starting to get to Western Europe pretty soon. I think that's kind of an ephemeral line. I don't think there's any, like, hard and fast division. Kind of like how there's not really a hard and fast division between where Europe ends and Asia begins. It kind of depends a lot on who you ask, right? But we're going to be crossing that ephemeral, like, continuum eventually. So that looks great. We're going to continue to get some territory from Poland here. Or not, if they say no. Let's see if the Communist States of America will create some border gore here. Yeah, they got it. Excellent. Okay, so this list is actually starting to get kind of short. And that's because this, if you want to call it a front... Oh, look, Chile declared war on Chile. If you want to call this a front up over here, this front is narrowing, right? It was a much wider front when it was like this. But now the front is essentially like this. There's some stuff behind the lines that we've essentially bypassed. Kind of blitzkrieg style in a weird sort of economic way. But yeah, our front is definitely narrowing. And that means that we'll have fewer things to request, which might mean that we start being cooldown gated instead of being political power gated, which would actually be a very good thing for us because we have a lot of things that we want to spend our political power on. We're just prioritizing the purchase of new land right now because we don't want war with the Allies to break out and them to be able to use this land against us. So, yeah, that's definitely a very interesting concept there, that we may not be limited by political power for too much longer. Hang on, did I see? Nope, I did not. Okay. So, yeah, we may not be limited by political power for too much longer. That's a good thing. Very, very, very good. Hey, look, the war in Chile is over. I'm sure there'll be another one in another, like, 3 months. It's kind of insane how frequently they're doing that. And the rest of the world just doesn't care. They're just like, yeah, they're going to do their thing. And apparently that's their thing. I don't know why, but okay. So we'll just get all of these civilian factories queued up. That'll allow us to build up our political power, and then we'll just continue... Oh, we missed this. Okay. And then we'll just continue to... We missed this as well. Just continue to push through Europe. If I can actually complete a sentence, that would be, you know, nice. Also, the game gets really laggy when there's this many icons on screen. I wonder what frame rate we're at right now. Isn't there a debug window that you can use in here to display the current frame rate? I think you can. Let's see here. Hoi for frame rate. Display. You can do it in Steam. I'm wondering if there's a way in game though. Doesn't look like it. Okay, that's a little unfortunate, but I would estimate this as being, once we get zoomed in a little bit here and get this on, I would estimate this as being like 3 or 4 frames per second. Hilarious. It's absolutely wonderful. Of course, the mouse cursor is a hardware cursor, and so that's just cruising along at the... Actually, that's cruising at my monitor's refresh rate, which is 120 hertz, but it's going to show up in the recording as 60, of course. And to my knowledge, YouTube doesn't support 120 FPS videos, although that'd be fun if it did. I would totally make videos in 120 FPS. I say not knowing how that would affect my encoding setup. That would cause some issues with my encoding setup. I think I'd need an upgrade for that, but that would be okay. So at this point, Burgenland here is a thing. Also, for some reason, the work phone is ringing right now, which is awkward timing, because it is also about time to put a cut in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I'll deal with the phone call, and then I'll record the next episode. You can leave your offerings to the engagement gods in the form of likes, comments, subscribes, and bell ringings, and a very special thank you to all of the channel members for making this video possible, including ALS Gamer, Dark Horse, Ethan Feldman, Upper Cumberland Gamers, Nick Smarty, Dimitri H, Punching the Microphone, The Lounge, Eskiel, Rornaz, and all the rest. And of course, you. Thank you for watching. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click the join button down below the video, and as always, I will see you all next time.